genuinely had an amazing career that was just extremely overshadowed by injuries. Now, as we all know, Derrick Rose had a blazing start to his NBA career, racking up many accolades and looking like one of the future stars of the NBA. And that seemed to be cut very short due to a couple injuries that had came up. So in this video, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Derrick Rose, his career in a whole, and why I think it's a lot better than a lot of people do truly realize. And then we're going to kind of go over the injuries that have completely derailed Derrick Rose's career. And although this video is not directly in relation to whether he's going to make the Hall of Fame or not, because that is a big question that's kind of been floating around as he's grown older, I think we might try to cover it a little bit at the end. But if this is your first time on the channel and you enjoy this content, please give me a like and subscribe. It truly means the world. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I cannot do that without your guys' help. And a quick little bit of news here. If you guys have been with the channel for a while, you can tell I like spicing up my channel, whether that's adding highlights in the corner, photos, adding new things all the time. And I think I'm going to start dipping my feet into, doing highlight videos where the whole video is highlights without me talking, and it's not going to be common at all. I mean, maybe like once or twice a month if I enjoy when I make an attempt to do it. But likely my first video attempt at that will be a Derrick Rose video, so if you guys would like to check that out, be looking out for that over the next couple of weeks here. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right into this. Derrick Rose truly had an amazing start to his career, becoming the youngest MVP ever, and he was even considered to have the potential to be one of the greatest point guards of all time. Many were already claiming that he would be a top 3 point guard ever before the injuries. Now, instead of Derrick Rose dominating the league for over a decade, Rose ends up with some severe injuries that held him back entirely. Recently, as Rose has aged closer to retirement, people have begun questioning if he is or isn't a Hall of Famer and whether his career was as good as people like to say it was. And, I think that's something that I kind of want to go over here, especially being a Chicago Bulls fan. A kid that grew up watching Derrick Rose. I mean, he was probably one of the first people I watched when I got into the NBA, and being a Bulls fan, he really kept it together for me. And, that's kind of what we're going to cover here. So let's start first with his early career before his first major injuries. Oh, excuse me. So Derrick Rose was drafted number 1 overall in the 2008 draft to the Chicago Bulls, and he immediately became an impact player for this team, averaging 17, which was third on the team, 6'3", and 3 point, averaging 17, 6.3, 3.9, and 1. So the order for that will be points, assists, rebounds, and then steal blocks, because I combine those two. I think it kind of works a little bit better. And he was third in points on the team and first in assists on the team. So almost immediately he was one of the top players for the Chicago Bulls roster. And in year 2, Rose stepped up even more, and his numbers also did the same, becoming a first-time All-Star in his second year. His sophomore year became a first-time All-Star. And at the end of the year, we got the memorable quote and speech of the "Why can't I be the MVP of the league?" And, entering year 3, Derrick Rose did just that, becoming the youngest MVP in NBA history at just the age of 22 years old. And just for reference, at 22 years old, some players either are just entering the league or aren't even in the league yet. They're going to be entering the draft the next year. And he was already MVP in the NBA. Absolutely insane. And he did that averaging 25, 8, 4, and 1.6. Which, when you look at the NBA nowadays, maybe those aren't incredible, crazy numbers. That's an all-star for sure, but maybe not an MVP. But, back then in 2011, 2012, in that era, there was not as much, offense. You were not getting as many possessions because time was being a lot slower. And, those numbers, I definitely think over the past decade have blown up exponentially and just completely makes any previous MVPs, not as good as maybe they truly were. But Derrick Rose won the MVP this year over Second place was, I believe, Dwight Howard, and third place was LeBron James. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, LeBron James should have won this, but LeBron was third place, and I think Derrick Rose definitely had, extremely similar stats, and his team did better overall. So I think Derrick Rose and the year he put together definitely deserved this MVP. There's no reason that it should be taken away from him. I think this was an incredible season and well deserved. Now, after Rose's MVP season, he would go on to be an All-Star for the third season in a row the following year before missing time with a groin injury. And then he had an ankle sprain after he comes back from that, and then some back spasms earlier on in the year and a toe injury altogether in 1 year. But as the playoffs started, the hopes, rose again. I think a lot of people thought Chicago Bulls were going to be in a prime position to be contenders, and it very much looked like that in Game 1 versus the 76ers, where the Bulls were up by quite a bit and really looking dominant in dominant fashion. And then the Derrick Rose injury occurred. In the fourth quarter, up by way too much for Derrick Rose to be in there. He ends up tearing his ACL, and, the team did not look the same ever since, nor did Derrick Rose ever look the same. Not only did this hold him out of the playoffs for the remainder of the year, but also he missed the entirety of the 2012-2013 season due to it. After returning from an 18-month hiatus, Rose would return to play, and he would play 10 games before he ruptured his meniscus and ended the season early once again. So really, really tough times for Derrick Rose, as we all can recall. 2 more seasons would go by for Rose on the Chicago Bulls before the Bulls end up trading him to the Knicks in the summer of 2016, and a very, very sad scene that was. It just so happened that when that occurred, Derrick Rose was getting interviewed, and that trade and the phone call Derrick Rose received, along with, the tears that came with it, were all recorded live, which pretty sad to watch, especially for a Chicago Bulls fan that is a major fan of Derrick Rose. But let's talk injuries. And as mentioned, Rose has had numerous injuries with every team he's been on through his entire career, but how many has he really had? And although technically I could give you a number on it, I feel like there's many more that aren't big enough for me to list because you miss a game or two here. But out of the major injuries to Derrick Rose, left orbital fracture, which is his eye. He wore a mask for a time and missed some time there. Back spasms, which happened right after the MVP year. A groin injury, torn left ACL, sprained left ankle, sprained left toe, torn his right meniscus 2 times, sprained his right ankle, bone chips in his elbow that happened with the Timberwolves, and many, many injuries that also held him out for a decent amount of times, but those were the major ones that held him out for like 5 or more games. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Oh, and right ankle surgery twice. 10 injuries that were major that Derrick Rose has had through his career. And by the way, if you don't know, Derrick Rose is pretty much the same age as Stephen Curry, so it's not like he's super old. People see Stephen Curry and they think that, wow, he's still MVP candidate and he's still playing at top level and he's not that old. Derrick Rose is right there. It's truly sad to think about the fact that Derrick Rose is, 2008 he got drafted. It's 2022 right now. 13 or 14 seasons in the league, and we just never got a chance to see what he was fully capable of outside of the one MVP year and early on with the Bulls. Now, the question that kind of remains here is, how has Derrick Rose still been great since leaving the Bulls? Because as we all know, he did exceptionally well with the Chicago Bulls. MVP, Rookie of the Year, All-Star numerous times, first team All-NBA. He had great stats, all this stuff, but it's definitely been overlooked how good the rest of his career has been. Like, truly, I think you'll be surprised at some of these statistics I'm going to talk about right here, because a lot of people think that once Derrick Rose left, he averaged 8 points per game the rest of his entire career, and that's not true. Rose has averaged over 10 points per game the past 4 years, including 2 times where he averaged 18. So, 2 times over 18, almost 20, which is very good, which is, just under All-Star for the most part. Rose in the last 4 years has also averaged 15.7, 4.5, and 2.5, which, again, are very, very good numbers. Definitely, the better half of point guards, and not bad at all, truly. And that was all on 47% shooting from the entire court. Pretty solid numbers. Not only that, but his 3-point percentage has improved a lot since leaving the Bulls, but definitely as years have gone on, with last year being the first time in his career where he's averaged over 40% from the field in 3 points. Over 40%, which, by the way, 50, 40, 90 is like the high standard of shooting. 50, 40, 90. 50 field goal, 40 3-point, and 90 free throw. And Derrick Rose, a man known not for his shooting, was over 40% last year. Not only that, but he has improved from his free throw line being over 90% last year. And Derrick Rose was, I think, about 2%, 4% off of that 50% mark. So, he makes a couple more shots there, and Derrick Rose is in the 50, 40, 90 club, which only 11 players are in the entirety of NBA history. And Derrick Rose was right there. That's actually truly insane to think about. And, he's had his career high in points since leaving the Chicago Bulls in a game where he game where he dropped 50 points against the Jazz. 50 points. And, really, really good kind of interview after where he cries. And I remember sitting there watching, and I was just like, wow, this is great. This is great to see Derrick Rose doing well after what has all happened to him since. And he did that with the Timberwolves. 50. Truly, 50. A lot of your guys' favorite players probably have never hit 50 before. I mean, there's only a small list of guys that have done that. And although there are some guys that, aren't all-stars that have done that previously, Derrick Rose did that after everything that has happened to his knee with the Chicago Bulls, and he goes to the Timberwolves and gets 50. That's really, really nice to see. Truly, truly nice to see. He also had a career high in blocks in 2021 with 3, and although that's not a crazy number, it's funny to think that did happen against the Chicago Bulls, so, that's kind of nice. And he had a career high 3-pointers in a game in 2018 with 7. And again, I don't know exactly. I think 14 is the record in a game. But Derrick Rose, a man not known for shooting, had 7. And I think 9 in a game is pretty solid. I think 9 in a game is top 10. And he was 2 off that. So very, very good for Derrick Rose for later on in his career. And he averaged over 16 points per game in every stint with the team since the Bulls, except for the Cavs. So what I mean by a stint is over the full amount of time that he's played with a team, whether it's all at once or, separated over time like New York Knicks was. Every team he's been on since then, Timberwolves, Detroit, Knicks, Cavaliers, every single one of those except for the Cavaliers, which he was only with for 1 year and averaged 8 or 9 points with LeBron and Kyrie and Kevin. I don't know if Kyrie was still there. Kyrie might not have been there. But Kevin Love, LeBron, a bunch of people that were going to be there to shoot. D-Wade, I think, was on the team as well. A lot of shooters on that team, and he averaged less than, I think it was 8.2 or something like that. But every other time he's been on a team, he's averaged over 16 points per game. And I think a lot of people assume that he was averaging under 10 points per game since he left the Bulls. So that's really, really, that's something that kind of catches your attention when you truly look at what he's done since leaving the Bulls. Now, why... let's kind of cover this real quick. As a airplane's flying over my house, hopefully that's not too loud. The Hall of Fame thing was brought up earlier on in the video here, and I do kind of want to cover it real quick. Although the whole video wasn't pertaining to it, I think Derrick Rose does still have enough chips on the table to be a Hall of Famer. And I know some people question it, and for fair reason, truly, for fair reason. I could go both ways, and there's definitely some, I'm a Chicago Bulls fan. I love Derrick Rose. I think he should be in there, so some bias to it. But, Derrick Rose, why Derrick Rose should be a Hall of Famer. No player who has won MVP in the entire history of the NBA has not been in the Hall of Fame. And Derrick Rose did that. Not only did that, but was the youngest MVP ever at 22 years old. And he still holds that record and potentially could hold that record forever. Although there's chances with people coming out earlier and people popping off earlier, and, if people stay healthy, I think a lot of people expected Zion Johnson to have opportunity at that. But, 22 years old is truly insane to think about, and I think by itself, by being MVP and being the youngest ever, that could pull him into that talks to be a Hall of Famer. But not only that, but Rose has still averaged 18, 5, and 3 through his entire career, even with some years of struggling, which, like the Cavs and stuff. He's still averaged a really, really good number. 18, 5, and 3 is very, very good. And although the Bulls' years definitely help bring that number up, the fact of the matter is, as suggested earlier, except for with the Cavs, every time he's been with the team has been over 16. He's also fifth in all-time playoff points of 22 or younger, like 22 years old or younger. And I know that's kind of an obscure stat to look at, but he's fifth all-time in that stat. So when he was healthy, which was when he was 22 and younger, he was one of the best in the playoffs at scoring and as a whole. So that's definitely something you got to take a look at. And not only that, but he was doing that while still, he got injured and was still under 22 and didn't play in those playoff games and still was top 5. And he's one of 11 players ever in all of history, one of 11 players to have over 5,800 points and 1,900 assists in the first 4 years in the league. Doesn't matter how old you are, your first 4 years in the league, there's only 11 players that have done what Derrick Rose has done in the first 4 years. Those are some really, really good numbers to back up Derrick Rose's case for a Hall of Fame career. And even if you're not even talking about Hall of Fame, those are some very, very good numbers since leaving the Bulls as well as, in total. So, I don't know. I just, whether Derrick Rose is a Hall of Fame or not is up for debate. Truly, it's up for debate. It could go either way. But I do think that Derrick Rose deserves a little bit more credit than what he has received. I think for the most part, it's only been about what he did with the Bulls, and he did nothing since. But he's done very good for himself, even since leaving the Bulls. And I think all those injuries really overshadowed the career that he has put together. I mean, those numbers are on par with other guys that get looked at in high regards. But because Derrick Rose hasn't been the player that he was when he started his career, definitely has, taken away from what he truly has put together for a career. But what do you guys think? For one, should Derrick Rose be in the Hall of Fame or not? And for two, did you really understand how great of a career Derrick Rose has had in total since leaving the Bulls? Or did you think that it was worse than this because it was overshadowed by the Bulls? And I mean, there's nothing truly wrong with that. When you got a guy that had so much potential and he gets taken away, that's all you're going to focus on. I mean, imagine how different the career could have been if he was healthy. That's a huge question that everyone likes to ask. What if Derrick Rose wasn't injured? And, I don't like dwelling on the past and changing things, but oh boy, at least for me as a Bulls fan, that would have been incredible to watch. But if you enjoyed this video, give me a like and subscribe. Truly, I'm trying to reach 1,000 before the end of the year, and it means the world to me, every single supporter I have. And even where I'm at right now, it's incredible. I never thought I would get to this point, and I'm nowhere near where I want to end up, and I'm already shocked at how far I've come. So thank you guys. Truly, it means the world to me. And as always, I hope it taught some today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it made you laugh. This is really important to me. Affect someone else today in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.